Hi, Sheila here with Creative Aging. This week we are going to practice with acrylic painting and we're going to do a rainbow forest. This is an excellent project to build up on blending colors and figuring out how to use texture with brush techniques. So as you can see, there's definitely quite a bit of buildup. A lot of texture in this, and this is different than the trees. And I'm going to show you step by step how to complete this. So for this project, we're going to need acrylic paper. This is the Strathmore brand, which any will do. I do like this brand quite a bit. I think it's a good paper for the price. It's about $12 for a pack of 10. And if you don't want to use the acrylic paper and you have canvas at home, please feel free to use an extra canvas you have. You can use any size today if you want to do something small or if you want to do something really large. With this project, you can kind of go any direction. And if you want to change the colors, please do. I always like it when you make your own, and so if you don't like blue or you don't want purple in this, then just leave it out and add more trees in the other color. So you're going to need the acrylic paints, and remember that in craft stores there is craft acrylic paint and then there's acrylic paint in the fine art section. I'm using the acrylic paint in the fine art section. It's a little thicker. And for this project, it's going to make it a lot easier, and I think you'll like the result better. But if you have extra craft paint at home that you want to use up, that's fine too. So both will say acrylic, but one will say fine art, and the other one will say craft acrylic. So there is a little bit of a difference. Blending, it's a little thinner. Craft acrylic is a little thinner, so the blending is just a slightly different look, kind of more watery. I think this will look a lot brighter if you use the regular acrylic. So I went ahead and got a paper plate and I put the colors on exactly how I'm going to use them. So the first color in a rainbow is always red. So I just went ahead and got a little dollop of paint of each color, red, orange, yellow. And the greens, I went ahead and mixed because I wanted a couple shades of green. So I just added green and yellow and made my own lighter green here. So just a little bit of green and a little bit of yellow, and you can have a lighter green and then your darker green and then blue and purple. So go ahead and get your paint ready on your plate. You are going to need quite a few brushes because we're not going to use water for this project. Mainly because a lot of people tend to use too much water when they're rinsing their brush, and that can muddy the colors pretty quickly. So unless you're an advanced acrylic painter or you've done it for quite a little bit of a while, then you can use water because you'll know how to work it. But for people that haven't done a whole lot, I'd prefer for you to use separate brushes. So some of these colors we want to blend together and some of them not. So you're going to use at least 3 brushes. So I get about 3 small brushes. It doesn't matter the size. And then maybe a couple size of bigger flat brushes because that's going to be used for the water. Okay? And so this is I'm actually using a small canvas. It's 7 by 9. And this is on the acrylic paper, just so you can see the difference. But the result comes out the same. It has the same texture on the canvas and on the paper. So it doesn't matter which one you use. A lot of people have spare canvas at home, so I figured I'd try that. So to get started with this, we need a horizon line. And let's do that somewhere kind of in the middle. And you can do that. Let's do it in a purple because it'll be kind of like a shadow. So just draw a line, and if you want to have a little bit of a hill or if you don't want it to be straight, you're welcome to do this however you want. Okay, so we got our horizon line on it. Now, I'm gonna use the same brush. And it's already got a little purple. I'm gonna wipe that purple off. But the bottom of the tree of the red, I kind of want it to have some shadows in it. So this purple will blend in nicely with the red. So get a little red on your brush, and you can get, you know, a good little glob. And we're just gonna dot. So we're gonna go right up on that line and just start dotting and moving the paint around. And make that tree as big as you want. And you're gonna have to redip. And you want it to have texture, so don't be afraid of the texture. Just keep going, because later we're gonna go back in this red and we're gonna add some orange, because we're gonna blend as we go. So this paint's gonna stay wet, and so once we add some orange in it, it's gonna create some new shades of red. So that's what makes this really pretty and fun, and it's nice since it's repetitive. It's really relaxing, because we're going to be doing the same thing with all these trees. So it's lots of dotting and just globbing the paint around. And then let's go ahead and get some orange. Same thing, dip it. And if you want to space them apart, or if you want them to be right next to each other, it's up to you. You could make this one smaller. You could make them all the same size. So continue dotting, and I'm making this one a little bit smaller. And I'm going right to my horizon line and even a little bit over. So now that we're into our orange, let's mix a little orange into the red. So maybe up at the top, you know, think about where your sun is and where it's shining through the trees, and certain places might be lighter. And if you want to try a smaller brush, you can. This is really good to experiment with brushes and experiment with how much paint to use. So use this as a great learning project to just play, and actually the results come out it's really fun and cheerful. Hard to mess this one up. And of course, you know, with art, it always takes a while to build up and to look good. Usually art looks kind of funky for a while, and then it comes together towards the end. So, you know, just plan on, you know, taking a good hour and a half for this project. Definitely an hour. Okay, see how I'm going back and forth? I'm getting a little red and putting it in here, and then I'm getting a little bit of orange, and I'm putting it in the top of the tree. So it might be more shadowed down at the bottom, and then it might be lighter at the top. At this point, I think I am gonna switch brushes, but I'm gonna leave this here. I'm gonna go ahead and try a smaller brush. Now this, there's no right or wrong way, so you can continue using the same size brushes, smaller, just whatever you have at home. Some people I know don't have, you know, a whole brush set, so let's get some yellow and go right alongside and keep going. I'm going to use this yellow and I'm going to bring it into the orange for sure. And we're going to bring these back and forth to each other. See how flat the yellow looks just by itself? Really needs some extra color. So you want these colors to go into each other. So see, I'm just kind of dotting back and forth to where yellow goes into this tree and a little bit of orange goes into this one. And say I want to use a lot of yellow up at the top. Let's just dip it again and go to this top of this tree. You can even use some yellow in your red if you want. If you just want a few little dots of yellow just to brighten it at the top of it. I'm gonna see, I just got some red on my brush. Not sure if you can see that. There was a big glob. I'm gonna bring that over here at the bottom of this one. And I'm gonna go over this horizon line again, because eventually we're gonna blend that into the water. So you don't want it to be like an obvious line. And so if it gets too dark, say right there, got a little too much red on my brush, just go over there and put more yellow in it. And this buildup is, all the layers is what makes it pretty at the end. So don't be afraid of the mistakes. The more layers, the more interesting these are gonna look, because you can see the layers. I mean, you can see the buildup and all the work. Okay, so that looks good. It's a great start. I'm gonna use a little bit more right here. It's just too harsh. There we go, that's better. At this point, you definitely need a new brush, because this yellow and orange and the green won't look so good. So you can use the same brush for, just think of the warm colors that blend well together. And then for these other colors, you can use the same brush, or you can use a new brush each time. I know it's going to be strange for people that paint a lot to not rinse these. So if you feel you want to rinse them, please do. Okay, let's keep going. We're gonna do the light green. Switch to the dark green. You can make this bigger or smaller. Kind of have it behind the other green tree. You don't even have to do 2 shades of green. Honestly, I just had leftover of this dark green and I wanted to use the rest of it. This is a good project to use those almost empty bottles of paint. And so I just figured I'd use the dark green and then make a lighter. Let's add some dark green down here. So with the smaller brush, it holds less paint, so you're gonna have to dip it more often. And you're gonna notice each kind of brush that you have is going to leave a different texture. So be very mindful while you're playing with these brushes of which ones are soft, which ones are coarse, how do they look. You might like one more than the other, so please, figure out which ones you like and then experiment. I'm gonna add a little yellow. So this yellow is gonna make a light green. Now I'm probably not going to use this yellow in the dark. I'm just going to use it right here. I'm going to do a little more dark right here. Bringing it into that horizon line a little bit. Now let's switch, and I think purple and blue are so pretty, so I'm going to make these bigger. So maybe think of your favorite colors and make that the biggest tree. I'm going to use a new brush. I'm going to get lots of blue. I'm going to make it really big behind everything. And you can always go back and add more colors. So we're just kind of getting the base. And then later we can add more colors. And we can even add some whites in the trees if you want like some bright highlights. If you want to do tree trunks later, you can use brown if you want to get darker. I'm not going to do that today, but that is definitely an option if you want to get some browns in these trees. So there's a good blue. I'm going to switch to purple. I'm going to add a little bit of purple maybe to the bottom of this blue. Maybe bring a little blue into the top of this purple tree. Okay, let's look at this. And I'm gonna, now that I have purple on this brush, I'm gonna bring the purple a little bit in. I'm just gonna drag it to where it's fading into the water. We're gonna use white in a minute though. And so in the water reflection, you're gonna have a little bit of a reflection of every color. So that's why we've left these brushes out instead of putting them in water, so that we don't use too many more brushes. So we've got our red. Let's just take the brushes again. And we're just gonna add a little bit of the color. So think about how big the tree is. This red tree is big, so I'm going to just drag some red. And this part doesn't have to be precise because we're gonna use white to go over all of this. So go into this purple, kind of drag it down, okay? Then we'll use that red brush and just get a little orange. So we're just doing the reflection. So this tree is a little smaller, so I'm not going to go all the way down with the orange. And I have my yellow brush here. Nope, sorry, that yellow had a little chunk in it. Okay, there we go. And then got our greens. Dark green here, just a little bit, not much. And the purple and the blues. Okay, now we need, you can put, if you want, you can put these brushes in water if it's driving you crazy. They're not even close to being sticky or dry yet, but you do want to make sure you don't leave these brushes out to ruin. So it's okay to leave them out during the process, but at this point, if you want to put them in water so you can wash them later and keep them in good shape, we're going to get our white. And I have a big space right here. I'm going to use it. You need a big, flat, clean brush. Doesn't matter what size, really. You just want it to be bigger and flat. So either size will do, especially depending on your paper. So take this white, and we're using this white. I'll show you on this one. We're using this white to kind of smear and fade all of those reflection colors we just painted. So that it looks like a reflection and it looks like water. So I want to keep these colors separate, so I'm going to use white and go in between each color just to keep them separate. And of course, there's a lot of ways to do this. I mean, if you want to do it a different way, you can. If you want to blend as you go. I just found this to be pretty easy, and so this will just help keep these colors separate. And actually going down will make it look more like a reflection anyways. And then let's go to the bottom of it, and we're going to paint the white at the bottom because we want this to be the lightest. So get a lot of white on your brush. And if there's too much color, you just cover it back up. So see how I'm spreading this white into the red, and then I'm going to use my brush and kind of go this direction. You can always go back in and add more color. So remember, a lot of these things, we're just doing kind of a base coat and a base color. Getting more white. And so see, these colors are going to blend into each other. It's not going to be perfectly straight, or it's going to look more natural if you kind of let them bleed into each other. But I'm still being careful because they can all blend together and not look so good pretty fast. So just be really slow and careful with this process. One great thing with acrylic is if you don't like it, you can paint over it. Just let it dry in between. It's not really a right or wrong way. So this is different than the trees because the trees you want a lot of texture, and the water you kind of want it to be really smooth. So I'm just going through and I'm letting some of the colors go into each other and letting it smooth. And I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to put these in water. I have my water cup right here. I want to add more white. So I think that I'm going to use a brand new brush and add more white. And I want it to be really white at the bottom. So let's see. So I'm just going to use the white and go all the way along it and smear that. So this part is totally preference. If you want it to have more color in your water, if you want it to have a lot of white and just a little bit of color. So we're going to use this white and we're going to make a thick coat down here, and then I'm going to drag some of it up. I just wasn't liking how colorful that was at the bottom. I think I got a little too much. So I'm going to cover it up. Now at this point, I'm going to go up. I'm going to go up with the white and think of where, your sun is. If you want extra white below the yellow, maybe we'll drag that up. And see how I'm doing kind of slow, choppy brush strokes? So I'm going to add more white over here. What is that? Yeah, this is looking better. Now, the more white helped. It needed to be faded a little bit. And if you want to change directions, you can. So say you want to use the flat of your brush, and maybe right here you could go up, go side to side, just so it doesn't look all the same. It's also going to depend on what kind of water you're going to do. I mean, if you're going to have it look still, or if you want it to look windy, and it's going to depend, if you want smooth water, if you want rough water, you're going to play with the brushes. I'm going to hold this up in a minute and show you how it's looking, and then we might add some more color up at the top to blend that purple better. So now let me show you. So we're going to use this brush and get a little purple. You don't want it to be too dark. And then go underneath. We're just gonna drag it down. So you don't want a lot of purple here, just using the white brush and then a little bit of purple just to get rid of that harsh line and just drag it down a little bit into the other colors. So there was some more white. I think I'm going to do really smooth water. I'm just going to keep going back and forth smooth. Drag that up. Now, this is where you really need to pause and look at your stuff. You have to really hold artwork away from you. See how it's looking, what you want to do next. You may want to add more highlights. You know, if you want to bring more colors into each other, you could add more yellows in the red, or you can add more, you could take the white and you can add little white spots if you want it to look a little more sunny in one area. If you don't like that this water is pretty colorful, you can add another coat of white and do the same process again. Just figure out what you love and what you don't like about your painting, and then that's when you need to work on stuff. If you see a spot that your eye's getting stuck on, go ahead and add more. But if you're loving it, then I want you to figure out a stopping point. You don't want to overwork things, but you also don't want to stop if you don't love it. Otherwise, you just wasted a bunch of paint and a canvas that's not cheap. And so let me show you the other one. Okay, so I used a lot more white on this one. And so I just went in and did another layer of white. So that is kind of up to you. Both of these are going to be put on the website under lesson plans. You'll see the images and there will be detailed steps of how to do this. But take your time. It definitely takes a while to do a good build up. And so just keep working it until you love it. And you know, with acrylic paint, if you want to stop and work on it again the next day, you can do that too. Just make sure to get those brushes washed. You don't want to ruin brushes, so make sure to wash them right after you're done with this. Okay, I hope you enjoy.